Welcome back to page 121. I got it. A hard copy of Third Imperium, one of my absolute favorite traveler books of all time. And I've got it in hardcover, courtesy of my wife. Thank you, hon. It was a nice little birthday gift from my wife. I really am excited that I have this in hardcover. I love this book. I've been dog-earing it since I got it. And today's video is going to come out of it. We're going to take a look at cultural zones. What is a cultural zone in the Imperium? First, I want to show a little bookmark my son Patrick made for me, a Traveler Science Fiction Adventure in the Far Future. And on the back side, I died in Traveler character creation. All I got was this lousy bookmark. It's on a nice cardstock. It's very durable, and I love it. So thank you again, Patrick. So, cultural zone. What the heck is that? Well, they're an interesting little subgroup of the Imperium. They are a part of the Imperium. And it says here, it tells us what happened to create some of these cultural zones. And basically, the warrant of the restoration of the Imperium was published in the Imperial Year Zero. It claimed all the territory that was held by the Zero Circa and the rule of Mance, the First and Second Imperiums, and that was rightful domain of the Third Imperium. Using the warrant for restoration as its justification, the Imperium expanded its borders and consolidated its interior during the pacifications of campaigns. The Third Imperium managed to integrate most of the worlds previously held by its predecessors. This was not accomplished without making sacrifices. Inevitably, the Imperium encountered peoples and cultures reluctant to join. Circumstances dictated the methods by which they were coerced. A lot of it was financial. They would work with the culture and make it worth their time financially to join them. Other times, not so much. The domain of Antares proved to be difficult to conquer during the pacification campaigns, and the subsequent Julian War gained the Imperium no additional ground. Concessions had to be made to bring the region on the border. A collection of worlds known as the League of Antares was established as a cultural domain in order to placate the most resistant forces of the domain. Likewise, in the far-flung corridor Gushamag and Dagudashag sectors, the Lancian and Amic Protectorate cultural regions were granted to preserve distinct cultures that had developed during the nearly 2,000 years of the Long Night. The Luriani Cultural Association was similar. Of all the minor human races, the amphibious Luriani proved to be the most difficult to assimilate. The Imperium managed to bring them into the fold over time, and granting them their own cultural region was a necessity. Now, what is a cultural region? I'm going to show you the little map, and I'll explain it a little bit. A cultural region basically says, you are going to be under our umbrella as part of the Imperium, but because you are so determined to keep preserve your cultural heritage and your way of life, we will allow you to have a cultural association. This will give you certain rights and privileges that would not normally be associated with just ordinary citizens of the Imperium. And here's a nice map of the various cultural zones. The Lancian Cultural Region, the League of Antares, the Amic Protectorate, the Silean Worlds, which is an interesting case, Luriani Cultural Association, and then down here the Vegan Autonomous District. And these were basically concessions made to peoples that for whatever reason did not want to go into the Imperium, primarily because they feared losing their cultural identity. They didn't want to just become more imperial citizens. They wanted to remain uniquely of their culture. So the Imperium was sensitive to that and said, okay, we can't beat you militarily, we can't get you in by economic coercion, we'll make you a cultural zone, you'll get your own specific laws dealing with your own cultural area, and then otherwise you'll be members of the Imperium. And all these various groups said, yeah, okay, that's a good deal. So it's a way to kind of placate some people that don't want to come in. And not all the cultural regions were granted as concessions. Some were established to reward loyal service to the Imperium. The Vegan Autonomous District, down here by the Salamani Sphere, right there, was given as a boon to the alien vegans, whose aid to the Imperium was instrumental in the victory during the Salamani Rim War. The Silean worlds were established to honor the contributions of the Sileans, whose cultural principles and personal sacrifices were a crucial part of the foundation upon which the Imperium was built and maintained. The Third Imperium started with the Silean worlds. Cleon Xanastu had, in the year basically minus 30, the Silean worlds were quite powerful economically and militarily, and they started projecting both those forms of might out with an eye toward creating the Third Imperium. In the year 0, through various machinations, Cleon has himself crowned as Cleon I, Emperor of the Third Imperium in year 0, and as a special thank you to his home Confederation of Worlds, the Silean worlds, he creates a cultural zone to keep their culture more pure than it would otherwise be. Interestingly, capital still sits in the cultural zone. That's kind of a neat aside on this one. Additional cultural regions have been proposed for the Geoni, Surat, Darmin, and Chenistan. Outliers in the Imperium nobility have even proposed the recruitment of polities such as the Darien Confederation and Sword Worlds under the auspices of a cultural region. The problem with establishing too many cultural regions is that eventually it begs the question, why have an Imperium at all? The entirety of the Imperium could be subdivided into dozens, if not hundreds, of distinct cultural regions, each with its own laws, religions, and traditions. In such a scenario, the Imperium would be reduced to a loose confederation of worlds. While some idealists dream of such a thing coming to pass, the astrographic implications are not kind. The Imperium is surrounded by the empires of major races and two great human polities, the Zodani Consulate and the Solomani Confederation. Were the Imperium to allow itself to split into myriad cultural regions, it could become easy prey for its neighbors. The cultural region controversy is one of the defining issues of the modern era, one which Emperors Strephon and the Moot struggle with on a daily basis. And some of those pressures are what led to, in the official Traveler universe, to Strephon being assassinated by Dolinar in 1116. If you're following my assassination series, you're getting some info on that. But I just thought cultural zones were kind of neat, and I think they present an interesting role-playing situation for you, especially if you look at the League of Antares and the Luriani Cultural Association. Those are associations that want to remain what they were when the Imperium came knocking on the door. And that can lead to a lot of interesting role-playing opportunities for you. You may not be from the region. You may not understand some of the cultural mores in the area. And you could make a lot of social faux pas that some could be just, oh, who cares? And others could be, you've offended the guy who's doing your cargo inspection. And now cargo inspection is going to take an extra 3 weeks. And you've got a few infractions you've got to take care of, and it's going to cost you money. There's a lot of stuff you can build into these cultural zones that's more than just a cookie cutter Imperial world. Now, I want to say, there's no reason any Imperial world should be cookie cutter, but I know it's tempting in Traveler to treat each world, each stopover, as the same way you would treat like a small town in a D&D type of game or Gamma World. And I get that, and I'm guilty of it. I've done it at times. But I try very hard to make the worlds feel like distinct individual places, especially as I've matured as a game master. I don't just kind of blow them off as just a port of call. I always have some background written up each and every time players stop somewhere. But these cultural states are really, the cultural zones are really good role-playing fodder. And they just beg you to just kind of sink your teeth into them. So that's all I've got to say. Let me know what you think. I think cultural zones are outstanding. I think they can add a lot to your game. I like them, and I'm really excited to have this book. I've had the electronic copy for over a year. I've read this book cover to cover, cover to cover all the way once, and then the bulk of it I've read even up to 3 times now. I love this book. I think it's one of the most useful Traveler products I own. But I'm just excited to have it in hard copy. So thanks again, hon. I really appreciate it. And thank you again, Pat, for the excellent bookmark. Pat got me more than this for my birthday, but that's one of the things. So that's all I've got to say today from page 121. I hope you enjoyed what you heard and saw. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.